are you open to, you know, 'cause based on, this was actually my question, but Ben's question was a good segue to this. You know, based on what you were saying before about having that sort of freedom, if you will, in terms of the days off, that to take the time for yourself, would you be open to starting another family with somebody, you know, having more children, for example? Is that something that you'd be open to?
So that's a very good question. And I've had multitude of these conversations,
Mm,
and it's circular because there is no one answer. In a perfect world, I would tell you I prefer not to have more children. Now, that does not mean that if I find somebody who has children, um, that I can't make, like, I love children. And my previous like long relationship with somebody that I dated for 2 years, she had a daughter. I looked at that like that daughter for those years as my daughter. I treated her as such. Her parents, her siblings, they were my family. I love them. I love them to this day. It didn't work out for a multitude of reasons, but none of that scares me. You
mm,
know, I've been introduced to people with 4 kids, and I have 4 kids. That scares me a little bit, to be totally honest. That's like
mm.
8 kids. I have more kids than the Brady Bunch. But ultimately, I'm like, I would tell you, you find the right person, you make it work. And it's also timing, right? I'm 42 years old.
Mm,
I have 4 beautiful kids. What I am worried about is like, let's say I find somebody in 2 years from now, because of what I've gone through, and I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are, both of you. But because of what I've gone through, like when you're 20, you start dating, you talk marriage, like you just don't, you never see like the bad. Like there is no bad. You don't see, like, you don't go into marriage or a relationship like, like, how is this going to go wrong?
mm.
But when you go through a divorce, you and you have kids, you're like, well, are you a good role model to my kid? I know you could be a good spouse or a loving girlfriend, but will you be a good like role model? Will you like love my children like I love my children? Are they second class citizens or first class citizens?
Mm,
Like how can it go wrong? And like how do I prepare for that? Which is like a sad thing, but that's like I will 100% have a prenup.
mm,
Like so you're already preparing for the worst before it even happens, which is kind of sad but necessary. So I would tell you is like I don't want to have, like, I don't really want like my daughter to be 30 and I have a baby, like a brand new baby. So like there's like this medium ground of, if I found somebody today that was so amazing, I want to make sure that our relationship is solidified, that, and then let's say then we get married, and then we'd be like, okay, well, let's make sure our marriage like works, like, so let's not do this, rush this right away. So like I don't want to have a baby like month one, right, or like 9 months later.
mm.
How long is that? Is that a year? Is that 2 years? Well, suddenly I'm 46, I'm 47. And again, I don't know, maybe it'll happen faster under the right circumstances. I don't want 2, 3, 4 more kids. If I had one, it's always that the idea is like how every situation again different. If the new spouse was married and has a child, how is their ex-spouse?
Mm,
Were they nice? Are they like a good influence on that child, on their child? Are they, because that person's going to bring that into my house. So I've
mm,
always had this conversation with myself. Is it better to have one child with like a new spouse and it's my child, like my biological child? Because I know I'll, I don't know, again, like, toot my own horn, but like, I know I'll be a good dad and I'll be a good role model and I'll be a good spouse. And they won't have any of that backdrop. Or do I start with whomever, like, I don't want to say issues because I hate the word baggage, because it usually tends to be used to be about children, which is, I think, is the worst thing ever.
mm.
Um, uh, so I don't have an answer for you. The answer is like, let me find the right person, and from there we'll decide together.